The Congressional Coalition on Adoption Institute estimates that in the U.S. there are currently 397,122 children living without permanent families in the foster care system. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, approximately two-thirds, somewhere in between 65 and 85% of these children, have a sibling who is also in care. For many reasons, many of these siblings are not placed together initially or become separated from one another over time. Although there are many trained professionals throughout the country who strongly believe that allowing siblings to stay together is always in the child's best interest, laws and policies must be in place in order to support these connections, both in foster care and after a permanent home has been found. It wasn't until the mid-1990s that state legislatures and courts initiated regulations regarding sibling placement and visitation. In 1993, California was one of the first states to pass legislation promoting sibling visitation for foster children. As compared to all other state statutes, the California Welfare and Institutions Code, Section 16002, which was passed in 1993, is recognized by many state officials as offering the strongest statutory protections for the needs of siblings in foster care and adoption. Its liberal definition describes a sibling as any child related to another person by blood, adoption, or affinity through a common legal or biological parent. This law allows any person, including a dependent child, to petition the court to request sibling visitation post-adoption. Following California's unprecedented work to further the initiative to keep siblings together, the Fostering Connections to Success and Increasing Adoptions Act of 2008 was the first liberal law to address the importance of keeping siblings together. This law requires states to make reasonable efforts to maintain sibling connections in order to receive federal funding. As a direct result of this federal law, between 2009 and 2011, 13 states passed statutes regarding sibling placement and visitation. Although this seems like major progress, currently a minority of states provide a legal foundation for contact between siblings after one or both have been adopted. Only 7 states, including Arkansas, Florida, Illinois, Massachusetts, Nevada, Maryland, and South Carolina, allow a court to order post-adoption contact without the consent of adoptive parents, and another 16 states allow a court order with the consent of adoptive parents. The fact that this policy hasn't been recognized by over half of the states in the U.S. has major implications on the lives of more than 300,000 children moving throughout the system. There are many proven benefits of placing siblings together. For children in care, being with their siblings can enhance their sense of safety and well-being and provide natural, mutual support. Research shows that sibling relationships are emotionally powerful and extremely important, not only in childhood, but over the course of a lifetime. As children, siblings spend more time with each other than anyone else, and therefore initially learn social skills such as sharing, managing conflict, and negotiating from their brothers and sisters. Sibling relationships also provide continuity throughout a lifetime, and in most cases are considered to be the longest relationships that most people experience. Children also turn to their older siblings for emotional support. For isolated children, as is the case for many children in foster care, sibling support is especially crucial because an older sibling is often their only perceived source of help. The negative impacts of separating siblings are endless. Separation often causes traumatic consequences, which may include loss, grief, and anxiety over their siblings' well-being. Siblings have a shared history, and maintaining their bond provides continuity and identity and belonging. In addition, a child's sense of self-esteem may be seriously impacted by separation. For example, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services notes that when children see positive qualities in their older brothers and sisters, they're less likely to think of themselves as a bad kid who's part of a bad family. In her 1998 study titled I Was Tooken, author R.D. Folman reveals research from her experience interviewing 90 children ages 8 through 14 about their memories of their initial removal. The study reported that many children did not know that they were being separated from their siblings until they were dropped off at different houses, and even then they had no idea how to contact each other. In describing their distress at separation, the author wrote, "All sense of family, of comfort, of familiarity, and of belonging was gone, and there was no one except strangers." Another study conducted in Texas found that foster alumni who had greater access to their siblings reported stronger relationships with them during childhood and had higher levels of social support, self-esteem, and income, as well as stronger adult sibling relationships. Surprisingly, beliefs and attitudes regarding this issue differ among all involved parties. In a study of foster parents' views on placing siblings, 55% of foster mothers did not believe that it was easier for a foster child to fit into the family if placed with siblings. As explained by one foster parent, the siblings depend on one another too much and shut other people out. However, approximately 45% of foster parents believed that children placed with siblings were easier to foster because they felt more secure having their siblings with them. In this same study, over half of the surveyed caseworkers indicated that it was difficult to find foster parents willing to accept sibling groups. Most caseworkers also believed that siblings being placed together made it harder for foster parents to incorporate the child into the family. However, the vast majority of caseworkers personally believed in placing children with their siblings unless separation was in the child's best interest. In many other countries and cultures across the world, political policymakers agree that in most cases it is in the best interest of the children to remain with their siblings. For example, the North American Council on Adoptable Children, which coordinates adoptions in Canada as well as the US, believes that children should maintain contact with their siblings and be placed together whenever possible, and that especially when children and youth have been separated from other birth family members, the connection between siblings is critically important to their emotional health and well-being. It also believes that conversely, the separation of siblings can significantly intensify each child's feelings of loss and trauma. Bearing all of this information in mind, until more states adopt a legal foundation that allows children to remain in contact with their siblings after they've been adopted, hundreds of thousands of foster kids will continue to experience negative emotional consequences throughout their childhood.